this? Oh, yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to start.
Okay.
Recording in progress.
All right. Time to make 7 o'clock for our Thanksgiving edition of the Vinton City Council meeting. I get called order, roll call, please.
Beerbauer. Here. Elwick.
Here.
Gates. Here. Cassinas.
I am here.
Fluhop. Yes. Stark. Here.
You all rise and say the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, get a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Motion.
Motion by Tammy, second by Bethany, all those in favor?
Aye.
Get a motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
Second.
Motion by Bethany, second by Tammy. We can just keep doing that all night.
I mean,
Easy.
keep us moving.
All right. Any questions, comments?
Pod holder for a Keurig. Okay.
We didn't even have to buy the machine.
Okay.
Anything else? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Last time we received 5 communication petitions or remonstrances. Also received a resignation letter from Nancy Scott off the P&Z Commission. So go back into our list of people who might be interested, if we have any females, if not, that poster again for 3 months and see what happens.
At the end of the year.
Yeah. Anything else? All right, moving on. Committee reports. Nothing I'm aware of. All right, moving on to citizens input. Council won't take any action on the comments this meeting, but may do so in a future meeting. Please limit your time to 3 minutes or until the pink little timer runs out. Well, you know the gig, kid.
Yep.
Say your name, who you are.
Dakota Sellers from Vinton.
Thank you.
I'd like the city council to hold a meeting or put on the agenda some sort of guideline outline as far as city responsibilities. So I was here 2 city council meetings ago. I was asked to do sign a letter in regards to restriction of deed on a property of mine. I have not heard anything from any city official about where I'm at in that process. Nothing from the lawyer, nothing from the council, nothing from anybody in the city. And I'm on the 2nd meeting, which is delaying this an additional month, that I'm not able to get a resolution to this. So I've gone through this whole process by myself without a single helping hand in the matter. Since that last time, I've uncovered additional things. It seems like individuals, not the elected officials, are making decisions on the city's behalf, and you can say following the ordinances when it's convenient and not when it's difficult. So there's things that I would like the city council to have a meeting specifically for this and say, these are the responsibilities. This person is responsible for this, because right now at this point, it's kind of a wild, wild west as far as what's choosing to get enforced and what's not. There's additional things that, will be brought up at a later date, but once again, I'm at my second city council meeting. I'm no longer on the agenda, and I haven't heard from anybody about why I'm not on the agenda. So the last time we convened, I was told to fill out a document that said that they're allowed to restrict my property to a 2-unit facility for the future. That's what I did, and I've heard nothing since that point. So I did it the following day, and I'm concerned that the officials are not getting the correct information or being led down the path of a particular bias. So once again, I haven't had any help. I haven't got any guidance. I'm an additional month again past that point, and that's where I'm at. And I would like, I know you can't act on it today, but I'd like to act on it next time to formally have something to sit down, get citizens' input, and find out what's important for the town, if we're going to be the town that's going to restrict things, or we're going to be the town that's willing to do it, and whose responsibilities those are, because I feel at this point, certain officials don't know what the rules are. So that's all I have to say. So.
Let's make sure it's on the next agenda. So we can hash it out. Thank you. Good luck.
Anybody else?
Anything else?
Yeah, Greg Walston, representing Benton County ISU Extension and Outreach, specifically Benton County Master Gardeners and also Old School Produce Partners. Just want to say thank you from our groups for allowing us to help manage the Third on Third garden and allowing us to use that for the cause of giving food to our Old School Produce and helping people in the county that we work with. This year we will probably, through Old School and part of what we grew at Third on Third, we are probably going to be at about 15,000 pounds of produce in serving 9 food pantries in Benton County. And you guys and gals are part of that project. So just wanted to come and publicly say thank you for allowing us to utilize part of that garden at free, and we of course help manage it with you, and we appreciate that partnership. That's all I needed to say.
Thank you very much.
You guys do great work as well.
And you're always welcome to come down and pull weeds anytime you want.
Every time I go down there, you're done.
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh, okay, right, yeah.
All right. Anybody else? Anybody out there?
Anybody wish to address the council, please use the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen.
Whoever has the Love My Captain logo. Love My Captain.
I'm not seeing anything at this time, Mr. Mayor.
All right, moving on to old business. Now it's time for first consideration of ordinance 1079, norms amending provisions pertaining to utility vehicles.
Second.
Motion by Bethany, second by Ron. So this is basically starting over, getting rid of the turn signal provision.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
All right, any questions? None, roll call.
Stark,
Yes.
Beerbauer,
Yep.
Fluhop,
Yeah.
Elwick,
Yes.
Messinius, Gates. Yes.
Okay. Moving on to item B, now I need a motion approval amended to the City of Vinton garbage contract.
Motion?
Second.
Motion by Riley, second by Andrew. So y'all got the communication.
We have somebody who wishes to speak. I believe it's the attorney who arrived in.
Okay, when we're done discussing, we'll call on her. So you guys got their counter offer, and into that email thing, she said if it needs to go back to committee, she wants to be a part of the committee meeting. That will be up to you guys to decide, so. You guys got any questions or comments, so she can hear?
I just have a question regarding clarification about an ordinance, because we talked about we couldn't do anything different for July because of an
Or we
ordinance
didn't take
meeting.
effect till August.
Okay, I just wanted to ask that clarifying question because it says differently in here, so I wanted to clarify that we asked him.
Yeah, you can allow her to talk. Are you there, Jennifer?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so they're all sitting here talking about it now, I didn't know if you could hear us or not, so.
I heard somebody had a question in regards to, what I had stated in the email in regards to the ordinance and that. Your ordinance is only related to collection. It has nothing to do with payment of the fees or changes to the contract.
She was asking about dates when it took effect.
Right, we had said we couldn't pay anything additional for July, but only August forward because of our ordinance.
So
So I'm just confused though.
so Jennifer, I looked over your counter offer and I called Curtis, I called Melissa and see if we could make hide in her tails of the formula they're using. I couldn't quite sense it out, but maybe the council members did a whole lot better than I did at it. And so I don't know which way they wanna go here, if they wanna meet with you more and go over it, or if they wanna go ahead and make a decision tonight, so.
Well, I provided an example to you guys as well.
Yeah, and I don't know if that'd help me or confuse me more, so.
Could you walk us through kind of where your math on this?
So it's basically a 5-5-5 formula. So you take the difference in price between what the fuel is and what your base rate is. So if you look at the example that I sent over in regards to July, you know, if the fuel price was $5.46, you take that minus the $3.36, you get a difference of $2.10. So if you divide that by the 5 or the 0.05, you end up with a multiplier of 42. So you take the 42 and you take that times the 5% for the inflation rate, you get a fuel surcharge of 21%. You take that fuel surcharge of 21%, you apply that to the base rate of $12.65, and that makes your new rate $15.31.
And that is the whole contract, again, not just a fuel.
Right, because it's more of a they call it a fuel surcharge, but if you look at it, it's a petroleum surcharge, because everything that deals with petroleum and petroleum products has gone up. You look at tires, you look at oil, you look at grease, you look at the depth that you have to put into the new ones, you know, for all the emissions controls, all of those are related to, you know, petroleum products, and petroleum products have all gone crazy, but they've always called it a fuel surcharge.
So when this was
I don't make the
originally,
rules, that's just what they've called it.
so when this was originally brought to us though, it was explained as a fuel surcharge just for the difference in the fuel amount. There was no petroleum surcharge including tires and everything else. It was just a fuel surcharge for fuel.
It's always been called a fuel surcharge. And the original proposal was based upon a percentage. We had looked at just what truckers were doing at the time. You know, we've made some adjustments to that over time. We've done some additional research in regards to that. And, you know, like I said, I don't make the rules. It's always been called a fuel surcharge. When my husband operated a trucking company, it was called a fuel surcharge. But realistically, it applies to the petroleum products because everything has gone up. You know, we're not asking for an increase in the labor costs or any of those types of things that have gone up. We're just asking for some fairness here because, you know, they've been eating this for a long time and, you know, they can't continue the way it has been.
Well, actually you are asking for a labor increase, because you just wanna increase the collection per household, and if you just put the $12.65 per household increase, all that has labor and gas and everything else that's in it. So you are actually asking for an increase in labor costs.
Well, but the number that you guys had presented was only dealt with an estimate of fuel and didn't take into account any of those other, you know, the tires and the oil and the grease and the depth.
Yes,
I mean, and when you're using a 55-gallon drum of depth, you know, every month or every half a month, I mean, that gets expensive really quick.
Not disagreeing with you at all, Jennifer. All I am saying is, when somebody comes to me and says, I would need some help with the diesel fuel prices, that's what we're responding to.
Sure. And I understand that. And when I chatted with Josh and Ronnie last week, they have agreed to fuel surcharges with Garrison, Mount Auburn, and Luzerne, and all of them are using a variation of this 5, 5, and 5 formula for the surcharge.
What you got, kids?
Well, I like this counter offer far better than the original offer. We're a lot closer to actually covering fuel costs and not double fuel costs. When you say a variation with other cities, what kind of variation?
I'm not at liberty to discuss those, because each of those contracts I wasn't involved in and I didn't write any of those. So I don't wanna give you guys any false information. I just know when in my discussions with Josh that they're using, you know, some of them have difference in base rates, some of them have differences in inflation rates. What the exact numbers are, I can't tell you.
Well, I'm sure we can get those pretty quick. Phone call tomorrow. So. Which way you guys wanna go? Better give her an answer if you guys wanna discuss it at another special meeting or not special meeting or committee meeting and have her come and have Ronnie and those guys come so you guys can hash out, get to the right formula so we can put this thing to bed, or?
I think we ought to have a meeting with them after we find out the other stuff. Sooner than later, probably.
Yes, that'd be most definitely sooner rather than later. Jennifer, what's your next week looking like?
I'm in trial Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I have hearings on Thursday, and I have judicial nominating interviews on Friday.
Okay, so next week's not gonna work. How about the week of the 5th?
The week of the 5th is pretty open, any day but Friday.
Yep, I am occupied, I think. I know the 8th I'm busy, the 9th I'm busy, and I think I just got invited for a 7th.
Monday the 5th.
That would be best.
Yeah.
Earlier than 7?
6.
6 o'clock, Monday the 5th.
That'll work for me.
You're gonna get your clients lined up.
I can have them there.
That would be great.
Chance I won't be there, but we'll deal with that, I guess.
Did you guys pay the September bill today?
I got a nod of the head, yes.
Okay. Did we approve the October bill yet?
Yes.
Yes.
Jennifer, we didn't receive the September invoice until the very end of October. And then a few days later, we received the October hauling as well, so both were approved tonight.
Okay, I was just looking at the invoice here. Yeah, it looks like the the September invoice was sent out October 10th. And the October invoice was sent out November 7th, so, okay.
/05, 6 P.M.
Okay, I will have Josh and Ronnie available, and we'll reconvene up there with you guys.
Alrighty. So I need to withdraw some motions here.
I withdraw. I motion. I think Dennis is-
Andrew?
No, Andrew was.
I withdraw my second.
Alright, thank you very much. Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Moving on to new business. Now I need a motion for the approval of the annual urban renewal report FY 21-22.
Motion.
Tammy, second by Bethany. Ask away. Anybody understand them all?
That's good.
If I may, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
The annual urban renewal report is one of two reports that are done prior to December 1 required. This one is required by the state, and you can't start your budget until you actually do it. It is a rearwards looking report for past tax increment districts that have been implemented, even those that are to completion, as long as you have the district and plus 3 years after, you still have to report those on an annual basis to the Iowa Department of Management. So this is one of the two required reports.
Any questions?
I know you had questions, Mr. Mayor, I believe I answered.
I did. Alright, hearing none, roll call please.
Elwick?
Yes.
Fluhop?
Yes.
Pesinius?
Yep.
Stark?
Yes.
Gates?
Yep.
Beerbauer?
Alright, now I need a motion to approval of the annual tax increment financing report.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Bethany, second by Andrew. Chris?
This is the report that is a forward-looking one for your TIF district for the upcoming year. So right now, your actual TIF district started in 2010. It got amended and modified. It includes Anderson Creek, but it also includes the Braille School. We did not receive anything from Hobart's as far as any increment or anything to collect back, but we do, per the terms of our developers agreement, we do have something for Anderson Creek Phase 1, and that's what's reflected in your annual TIF report. And if approved by council, it'll go to the courthouse tomorrow for certification, so we can actually start our budget process.
So some of the things I was just asking Chris about, we had some of the TIFs that are, final payments are coming up this year,
Or last year,
or last year.
and they're done, so, but this one for Anderson Creek is not, it's a fairly new one, so
Yeah.
early in its life.
Are you able to do that report without the information from Hobart
Yes.
They have to supply that,
as of October 15th?
yeah, so they won't have anything, no payments this year. I don't know if they generated anything for the payments anyhow.
No, we have not. You have to have a
I
minimum.
think the hotel,
It's
is,
paid off.
that one's done.
Downtown has been paid off as well.
Man, if you ever wanna learn about TIF, just read the reports and they'll drive you insane.
Well, I could spend a lot of time on tips. I think Doug can too over there.
Long time.
So, Pam, any questions? Roll call?
Beerbauer? Pesinius?
Yep.
Fluhop?
Yes.
Stark?
Yes.
Gates?
Yep.
Elwick?
Yes.
Alright. Now it's time for discussion with the Vinton Unlimited on IEDA downtown resource visit.
Want us to come over there?
Yeah, good, that'd be great.
Yeah. Can't hardly see us.
Introduce the whole team when you get over here, Melanie.
All right.
Not that we don't know who you are.
This is Charlie Reese, No Snow, Vinton. And we're just here to find out what your opinions were of the Iowa Economic Development prior to this, they had, in the Iowa Economic Development also put forward that it would be a great location for food trucks and just kind of a gathering for the community, and just have it like a public green space.
If we owned it all, that would be great, but we
Right.
don't.
Right. So, if, and I talked to Chris, he wasn't sure when that day will ever come, well, when you'll own that property.
Right, or even be able to attempt to purchase it. But, I did talk to the property owner, last week, he didn't really say anything, but I believe he may be willing to negotiate pretty soon here.
So we purchased, a program through Vinton Unlimited, and it's for a rural revival. And it's like, doing a community event, raising money to put back into a community project. This was like our number one goal. Obviously, we don't wanna go out and get sponsors and that kind of thing until we have something set in stone as to what we're gonna do for the project. But we were interested, especially after, Iowa Economic Development brought it up, and just wanted to get your thoughts, or if we should just go with another plan.
Well, it's been brought up many times to us, and some of us have talked amongst ourselves too, as the potential there. It's just got that tricky little hang.
So if you don't acquire that land, or until you acquire that land, do you have any plans for just that one section?
I'd love to have a new city hall.
And would that go up just on the one section, Cleveland section, and not the other, or you're just waiting for the whole thing?
Well, it all depends. Occupying another space for a city entity that's not gonna collect taxes where it should be collecting taxes probably isn't one of the smartest things to do, so. But having an empty lot is not really sufficing for anything either.
And we just see the lot as, potential, there's so much we could do with it. And then when Iowa Economic Development had said the same thing, it's like, okay, let's get on this.
So we do at least have half of it.
Yeah.
You know, so
Well, but
you
more
guys
than
can
half
come
would
up
be
with some
good.
good ideas during the
They
summer
actually,
and such to
yeah.
do on half of it.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, you could do both, you could plan for the entire thing,
Mm-hmm.
but have your contingency plan that, hey, we might have shrunk this down by half,
Right.
and make it expandable to go into the other lot if that ever comes to fruition.
The lot that you have is larger than the other lot.
Yes, it is.
Right, okay. So it's,
We can get
it's,
you dimensions.
it's greater than half.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You can pull up on Beacon,
Mhm.
I assume it's 2/3 of the area.
That's very simple.
Like something, in like, that's in the alley of the palace,
Yeah.
things like that, it's cool.
Yeah, well, several people have brought to our attention, LaPorte has a new green
Oh,
space.
it's so cool.
I know, and it's an ideal spot, and it's such a prime location, and so that was our goal, but, obviously, again, we wanted your guys' backing if we kinda wanna set a project in stone before we go out and, try to get people to sponsor us and go forward with the event, so.
Is there anything in the food truck, legalities that we would have to consider with the Rendezvous or with Lotus or
Yeah,
anything?
there is that deal we were talking about within so many feet of the restaurant.
I don't think they're free. So close to the beach.
I think so. The lot backs up to the alley.
They just can't be right in front of that, right?
The stipulation was removed. Oh, that was,
Mhm.
okay.
So there is
you go.
no stipulation saying that there's nothing?
No.
Okay.
Is that it?
Yeah, 'cause we had someone parking down at John's, we had,
Mhm.
that's why we got rid of that.
Okay.
So that is not official, good to know.
That's good.
Alright, so we'll kind of go with plan A with the adopted maybe a smaller.
Maybe with an A- backer.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Maybe the right set of eyes, if you did it on half, maybe the right set of eyes would see it and realize that doesn't look too good.
Okay, now moving on for discussion of the annual Boomtown event. So Chuck called me last week. 2 weeks ago, last week. And said that the Vinton Unlimited is voted not to sponsor the Vinton Unlimited anymore or assist with the planning of it. So we came here to see what we all had to say. I think you're at a turning point. Me and him kind of discussed that a little bit. Is it 15 and we've had enough, or is this something you guys want to continue on to have the great things happen in Vinton? So. And don't everybody speak at once.
I'm not getting more information.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was not very much to go out.
Well, that's about all we got. They start planning. Yeah, you come up, Chuck. Introduce who you are and where you live. We know who you are, but just go ahead and say it anyhow.
I'm Chuck Yedlick, live in Northtown. Been the responsible person for Boomtown back when it began in 2007. We started out then, I think it was with a Boomtown committee. And I don't remember now if it was 10 people, 12 people, what. And over the years, as people just dropped out, we got down to a lesser number. And finally the committee said, we can't do it anymore. And so they dropped out, and Vinton Unlimited stepped in and said they would take over managing the operation, which they have done the past 2 years. And they feel with all the other things they're involved in, that they can't dedicate the time that they want to manage this event. And so we just need to know if you want to try to keep that event, whether we reach back out to a committee of people to manage it, or we say 15 years was a good run and we look for a different community, if that's what the IP wants to do, or what your thoughts were. And before we did anything else, we wanted you to have time to discuss or visit about it and see what you think the community would prefer that happens. That's why I reached out to you. We do have a couple of the old committee members that would volunteer to help with it, but 2 people can't do it, so.
No, I remember the first one. It was quite the undertaking. Tammy kind of took that one under her.
It was, every year it's quite the undertaking.
But it brings a lot of people in town.
It does, that, you cannot deny that. It's very unique.
But do we put it out there to try to form a committee again, or?
So the original ones, I know if we had reached out to, you.
No, he left me off his short list.
What's that?
Give me the number of attending people, I mean, over the years, I know it has dropped.
I don't know, the youth committee would tell you what the numbers were 2 years ago compared to this last year with the rain. I mean,
Yeah.
we took a bath, one way or another with the rain this year, so.
I don't have the exact numbers, but I'm going back and looking through it every year, for like probably the last 5 years at least, has been a steady decline. But it still is something, I mean, we're not wanting to lose Boomtown. We would love to have it continue on. We just, as a committee, as Vinton Unlimited, it took way more time than what we could. I mean, it was like a full-time position for several months. And that's just more than what we can put out there for it. Will help. I mean, we will do things, we will support it, we're willing to, help in any other ways, but as far as being the party that is steering it, you know, that's what we're kind of stepping down from.
Again, don't everybody talk at once.
Well, I gave my 2 cents. If there's any interest in anybody,
Yeah, we'd have to reach out. I mean, I think it's something that if the community as a whole wants to continue on with it, we gotta throw it out there, see if people wanna step up and try and manage the thing.
So Chuck, are you, willing to work with anybody that would step forward? I mean, is it,
I represent the IPA, and
Right.
our job is to provide a show to entertain those people that you draw to this event.
right,
We don't manage the event. I've assisted you over the last couple of years because you were getting your feet wet for the first time. And so I probably did more the last couple of years than what I did the previous 13 years, because I manage the show, I don't manage the event. As far as the vendors and all this stuff, you know, that was your stuff, but there was a lot of things that I, you know, was asked about in doing it. And I'm happy to help, I mean, whatever we can do, but, you know, our purpose is to provide you the entertainment that nobody else will see anywhere else.
okay, so if we.
And I'll still help whoever is in charge if I have to, you know, assist in putting the bleachers in place or whatever chores come to be. I mean, I'm always there, and, you know, living locally, I can do that, so, you know. But whoever
So,
wants to make a committee and do it, or manage it, you know, set up the vendors and ticket taking and that kind of thing, I mean, whoever wants to do that, I'll help, but
So does IPA want to continue doing a display? Because you had said whether it's here or elsewhere.
no, the IPA, you know, we had a meeting the day after you let us know that you were not wanting to do it anymore. We had a membership meeting, and the members voted that they want to continue such an event. And, you know, I didn't want to look elsewhere until we, you know, you guys have supported us for 15 years, and I'm sure not gonna, you know, just walk away. If there's a way to keep it in my hometown, I'll keep it in my hometown. That's why
Part of the issues is, it's an expensive deal to put on, and you just never know how many people are gonna show up. You know,
well, you're at the mercy of the weather, that's the main thing. If you could have a guaranteed perfect sunny day,
yeah.
you could really bring in people and have a great event, but if you get snowstorm, like we did this year.
Question, do you have, and Chuck, I apologize, do you have insurance for a rain event or whatever, like I know Jones County Fair does?
No, we've never looked into that.
Okay, because I know your brothers, you talked to me many times about Jones County Fair have an event, that's huge dollars in comparison to this, but I didn't know if you had a weather insurance policy, so you wouldn't take, your risk is a little more minimized with that policy, but I don't know what the policy costs, I don't know anything about it, so just
Once
interject.
you get those things in the tubes, though, they're going off one way or the other.
Yeah, you never have to bring it out.
Well, there you go, I'm sorry, that was probably not appropriate at that point, right?
If I have a choice of tearing it back down or shoot through the rain, I'll shoot through the rain, because I don't want there.
If it becomes a tough deal, he's got X amount of dollars involved in this, but,
County fairground,
so that money has to come in something to pay for his expenses. I mean, everything's gone up, so you gotta get the people there, and it takes heck of an effort to get the people, as we all know. So, it's quite an undertaking, but, well, worthwhile, no doubt about it. The numbers have been going down for a number of years, and whether there's a reason for that, better, you know, something could have been done better or whatever, get more people in. But yeah, it's just a tough deal. You're at the mercy of the weather, and that's quite a deal.
Everybody toughed it out this last year, though. Everybody didn't see anybody leave. They just sat there and got wet.
They sat and sang the national anthem to themselves, I mean, it was beautiful.
have to know.
Yeah, what's your,
I don't know, I mean, we've gotta have a direction to go in,
yeah, if you're gonna go find out here, you gotta go find another.
Because right now, we would normally have bleachers ordered for next year, and I don't know what else was booked early on.
Bands and vendors and
Yeah, you gotta.
t-shirts.
Melody, is there a timeline you think that, I mean, they're gonna start getting in trouble real soon here?
Right, yeah, yeah. I mean, Chuck's right, I mean, bleachers are reserved
I mean,
immediately.
you said there was that one grant that we applied for last year, that's gotta be done before the end of the year, that
Right,
you
that's
got that to help with advertising, so I mean, the wheels don't set still very long after the previous show, that you have to start working for the next one. I don't know if you had a list of people that volunteer for everything, that you just call them up and tell them, got another one for you?
It would be great. That was one of Watson's things, the same 300 people do everything in the town of 5,000, it seems like.
I mean, and Vinton Unlimited is, I mean, we're totally supporting Boomtown. That's, in conjunction, we still have Boom Fest that goes on downtown, which we have no intention of stopping that. That's something that the community really enjoys as well, and we're wanting to continue on with that. But it's, being pulled in both directions for Boomtown and Boom Fest. Just need some help with that, but yeah, we'd love to see Boomtown continue, it's just getting those people.
But I'm usually on the other side of the track, and once the track gets muddy, I can't get back out there to manage the ticket taking and all that stuff, so we gotta have somebody help.
Well, at least you didn't leave me out in the infield this year. So. Well, I would suggest, and maybe it works, that we get a couple ads in the paper, just, hey, looking for a Boomtown committee, we need to get this thing organized before the end of the year, or it may not happen. If people really want it to happen, they're gonna step forward, but we gotta give the community a chance to step up.
Could we get like a general list of, activities that like a committee would need to take over? Okay.
Yeah.
I think that'd be helpful to include in the ads, so people are gonna know what they're getting into. Yeah.
And start it that way. Matt here?
No, he's not here.
Put it on our,
I think
put it
by
on
the
the
end of the year,
website?
we gotta have something,
Put it on the
something, yes or no.
VPRD website?
We can tell.
Since Matt ain't here, can I volunteer VPRD to run it?
You sure can, but we can, I don't know.
That was my idea.
You can suggest that.
Oh, do we have enough officers?
Yeah, I got enough police officers, they're there anyhow.
Well, I'm here, so you can't.
Oh.
Fire department,
That you're here.
they're not here.
Thank you.
Well, that's what we'll try and do, Chuck, we'll find out what we can come up with.
Okay.
All right, moving on to item E, now I need a motion approval of business improvement grant for Think Snow LLC.
Motion?
Riley, second by Bethany.
And this is the business improvement grant. You would have to, we do have the funds for the grant, we have it, and this is from a quarter of our hotel motel taxes.
All right, any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? None. All right, now it's time to receive and file the airport improvement program reapplication.
Second.
I don't think we have to have motions, but we got them anyhow. We got a motion by Tammy and a second by Riley.
Well, we're receiving and filing.
What's that?
We're receiving and filing.
We're receiving and filing, that's what they're doing.
Okay, and I didn't know if there were any questions.
Take one.
This is something we do every year.
Yep.
And then the sheet that I'm passing around, and I'm sorry I didn't get it in the packet, but I just received this from the Department of Transportation last week. they completed their economic impact study on the Vinton Airport. And just a couple things really quick to point out. We had 348 visiting aircraft come in for a total of 1,045 passengers, and they spent $122,300 while they were in Vinton. So, you know, people just don't realize what goes on out at that little airport. And then if you look at the very last line on the back side, Vinton Airport has a total impact of 11 FTEs and a total economic impact in this community of almost $750,000. It kind of blew me away, and I thought I was reading it wrong and read it 3 times. So, you know, you may go by someday and see no activity, but if you're there the 2 weeks before Oshkosh to the 2 weeks after Oshkosh, airplanes are lined up waiting to get fuel, they're hopping in a courtesy car, they're coming in, you know, they're getting something to eat. Hopefully they'll stop and see Carolee and they'll see our downtown, and it does have a huge impact, and people just don't realize that. So thank you very much for your support of the airport.
Thanks for sharing the report.
And with that, if you can give me about 37 million, we can do a lot of neat things out there.
If I had that money, I'd hire a committee to run it.
Yeah, we'll take care of Chuck's little boomtown. We had that budget.
If I may, Mr. Mayor and Council, kind of is, on that, with, if council chooses to receive and file this report, then we can do the pre-applications which are listed on the capital improvement plan, which are 90% paid for by federal government. And in some cases, like last year, there was some projects that were totally 100% paid for by the federal government. But you can't do that without receiving the file.
Alrighty. Have any questions, comments? All those in favor of receiving and filing?
Aye. I didn't know if we really did it.
Well, you guys made the motion, so we followed all the way through. Oh, anybody opposed? I heard everybody say yes. Alright, item G is now time for a hearing for a nuisance violation at 201 First Avenue. I assume that with her medical emergency, that's got canceled.
Well, that's a council cancel, I believe, but,
Well, yes, I don't know what all the discussions were with the property owners, but talking with Blake today, we did learn that one of the property owners had a pretty serious medical event recently, and I think his wife voiced some concern that she wouldn't be able to be present tonight, so taking that into account, I think it would make sense under those circumstances to bump this out to the next council meeting.
Everybody all good with that?
Yep.
Alright, you'll let her know that we'll push this out for a couple weeks.
looking at me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Or Blake, whoever.
Yep.
Somebody's let her know. Alright, now moving on to item S. I got a motion for approval, request to waive fees for public records request. Second by Ron, so now we can discuss. So these fees are itemized out for what the cost the city incurs if they did a freedom of information request to gather all the documents up. And by state law, and correct me whenever I'm wrong, that they allow us to charge anything that's over $25 or something like that, right? So.
Yeah, a couple of things I'd say about, right now, the city really needs to consider and enact a more formal written policy when it comes to how you're gonna assess fees, because it's my understanding you really don't have one. IPID, the Iowa Public Information Board, however, and even state code makes it clear, even though you don't have a policy, you can still charge to collect the costs you incur to respond to requests. Oftentimes those costs are so much a copy. If somebody comes and I want, copies of 15 documents and the city prints them, in theory you can charge so much a page, and you can charge for your staff time in producing them as well. And usually, talking to Melissa about staff time, it's usually what I call something like a FEMA rate. So you kind of figure out what's the total cost of that staff person per hour, wages, benefits, etc. And if it takes them half an hour, then half of that rate plus the so much per page is what you charge. So that's all good and well. The city should probably have a policy because you can charge for one copy. It doesn't have to be $25. If somebody comes off the street and wants something, you can charge. And you should be consistent, honestly, with that. So somebody comes in once every 2 years but wants one page or something, they should be charged, because as soon as you don't charge that person, somebody else comes in and wants 200 pages and you want to charge them, even though it was 1 page versus 200, you should try to treat everybody equal on that front. You're entitled to charge what's considered a reasonable or actual cost. You aren't allowed to add on to that, administrative costs or miscellaneous, if you will. In this particular case, it's kind of I would say it's unique because these kind of things happen, but it's for a week's worth of emails that is electronically stored data. All of you have emails, know from time to time you receive emails, you send emails, and you delete emails. And when a request comes into a city, and I've handled this before for other cities, I always recommend you take that request and utilize your IT provider. Because anything other than that is going to be, if this request came in this case for Chris's emails, and Chris says, fine, I'll put them on a thumb drive, he'll immediately be questioned. Did he provide everything? Did he pull the ones out he didn't want somebody to see? So having the IT provider do it is the way to go. In past cases where I've dealt with IPIV on the same issue, they're in full agreement that that's an appropriate way to handle it, is to have your tech provider take care of that. I will say in this, our estimate, you've got two things going on here. One, you've got kind of just a time frame of requested emails. It isn't, I want all emails. One example I dealt with years ago was I want all emails from all elected officials and city staff that use the word pit bull, Staffordshire Terrier, that's so specific words. In this case, it's just I want emails from this time to this time for the one employee. Under IO Code 22, which is the public records chapter, there's a number of exceptions, and I think almost 50 different categories under section 22.7 that define certain things as confidential. And we don't know what would be in that week's worth of emails that have been requested that might be considered confidential under the law that we shouldn't turn over. It might be attorney-client communications, it might be confidential employee-related information, and so before those emails can be turned over, somebody has to look at them, and that's typically a city attorney. So all I have to go on in putting together an estimate to look at is a general understanding there's about 200 emails from the IT provider. So I think my estimate's based on 1.5 minutes per email to read them and look at chapter 22 is appropriate to decide what should or shouldn't be given. There's going to be some emails that probably take me 15 seconds to look at. There might be others that take 3 or 4 minutes. That estimate could be way out of line. It could be half of that. It could be a third of that. It's just hard to know. But the way it usually works, you come up with a reasonable estimate, you have the right to collect that up front. Then we put together the response, and whatever the time is, that's what the person is, so they paid up front. If we spend half that time, they get the money back that wasn't incurred. Can the city council waive? Absolutely. You have that right under the law to waive these expenses. A couple things to consider on that front is, again, you don't have a formal policy in place, so whatever you do at this point is probably going to be what you're going to be doing forward until you have a policy. So if you waive these fees, there's further requests coming in down the road. Unless you have a very specific reason that you can kind of earmark this request as being different for, you're probably going to be stuck waiving fees for other people as they come forward until you establish a formal policy. So I think that's a consideration. This isn't, thinking about this request too, it's pretty general. It isn't, again, back to that saying, like the one I dealt with a while back, they wanted to know what elected officials were saying about pit bulls. Was really the crux of it. In this case, it's I want every email over this week. So it's a little bit more wide open. Is there a real public policy interest that you could find in this request that says, you know, in this case, it does make sense to waive the fees, where some others you wouldn't. So if you find that you think there's a reason that you could enumerate, that could go into the minutes, so that the next request that comes forward, you could say, well, we're gonna charge you because your request is different. When this one was waived, we waived it because of this. So I don't know what this would be, but if you can come up with some reason that you think this one's appropriate for waiving where another one down the road might not be, I think you should try to identify what that reason is as opposed to just saying you're gonna waive it. That make any sense?
Yep. So,
Have we had many of these requests?
yes.
Yes, really, just really typically in the fall.
And Melissa and I have kind of discussed, she's going to put a policy together for this whole situation going forward, so. But by the time we get that done and get it approved and into our ordinances, you're talking 6 weeks. And in 6 weeks, you can get a lot of FOIA requests.
And you wouldn't, in this case with the policy, I don't know how the city generally handles policies, but it doesn't necessarily need to be an ordinance. It could be a policy approved by resolution.
So it'll be,
So in theory, it could be in a
2
couple
weeks,
weeks.
but then probably more realistic, probably
No.
last meeting in December. So,
Another issue in this particular
pushing us
request,
back to 6 weeks.
and I apologize, I'm not gonna intentionally get my dates wrong, but as I recall, this request came in on October 28th. Sound right?
Yes.
Okay, and when I think Melissa and I talked real early on, I think she was out of the office when it came in, but as soon as she got back to the office, we talked about it, and I suggested, you know, the IT provider, that's the way to go with this, and the IT provider struggled to figure out how to do this, and I don't say that they don't know what they're doing. Every system's different, and I think the city got a new server, and there were some things that had changed, and these emails may not be backed up offsite, I think is how I understood. Because if they were backed up offsite to say more of an IT provider, they could pull them right from their server. In this case, they could pull them from Microsoft, the company, or have Microsoft do it, and that would, I don't know how that would work, how much time that would take and what that would cost. Or the IT provider can kind of come in and do it more manually. And I think they were trying to figure out a better way to do it than to come in and do it manually, but in the end, I think they decided that was probably maybe the only real way to get it done in any reasonable amount of time and the cheapest. So that's what this is based upon, them coming in and doing that manually from Chris's computer. So I guess my point too, if we don't really, in my opinion, wanna wait for you to think about policy, because October 28th was the request. Now we're mid-October, mid-November. We're supposed to respond within a reasonable time. The code doesn't, there's no mandatory time. But if you get questioned on it, you have to show that you're being reasonable. In this case, we were delayed quite a while because of the IT provider trying to decide what the best way to put this response together would be. In the meantime, the requester found the delay to be unreasonable and filed an IPID complaint, so a complaint with the Iowa Public Information Board. So we have responded to that, and so additional delays without the consent of the requester, I think, could be considered unreasonable. So we are in a position now where we can, in fact, respond. It just will take a little time and a little money to put the response together, which the council's entitled to pass on, or you can waive it as noted by the request.
Have we had requests before that have had this kind of dollar amount tied to it, or is this kind of an outlier?
Well, there's some higher ones.
And have we
And then they
waived them
then they refocus their request.
to get a lower?
If I remember that correctly, yeah,
Yeah.
once they realized how many dollars they're talking.
So they narrowed it down, so they were paying less. Sure.
I do think it's important to know, just to reiterate, the Lynch Dallas number could be twice as high as it needs to be. It's just hard to know.
It could be half as much.
Yeah.
But it could be half as much, it could be more.
I
Chris is long-winded sometimes.
As I said, they turn into 2-3 page emails.
Very thorough.
Sometimes.
More power to you if you think you can get through one in 15 seconds.
Minute and a half. Yeah.
Or whatever it
Oh,
is.
yeah. I'm sure some would be very short, but that's the process that I've proposed. I think that's a process IPIB would support based on my prior dealings with them. And that's the entity that would oversee the reasonableness of the city's approach here.
So is there potential too then for the IT fees to also be increased or decreased because it was more of an estimate of how long it would take?
I would say that'd be a fair.
Yep.
At the end, no matter what, it's gonna, the payment will be whatever the actual billing is. We can't just collect whatever the number was. It has the actual cost incurred.
Yeah, but the city has the right to collect the estimated costs up front and then reimburse or invoice for anything over. I would suspect in this case, it's gonna be less. But, you know, that is just a suspicion based upon looking at some of these in the past.
All right, so the motion is to waive the fees. I got a second.
I'll second the motion to waive the fee.
What's that?
I'll second the
Oh,
motion
it's
to
been
waive the
seconded.
fee. Oh, it's been.
It's been seconded.
Yeah. So no further discussion, so the vote, if it's a yes vote, we'll waive the fees. If it's a no vote, it'll be paid up front, and we'll reimburse it what we don't use, right?
Correct.
And will that be the city's policy going forward?
We're
No.
going to create a policy.
There will be a policy.
In the near future.
But just to be clear, if we waive it, then the city is paying those costs.
Yes.
Correct.
Well, the taxpayers have been
Right,
paying those costs.
right.
Let it rip. Roll call. On the edge of my seat.
Hastenius,
No.
Stark,
No.
Elwick,
No.
Beerbauer,
Yep.
Gates,
No.
Fluhop,
No.
All right, so the motion fails to waive the fees. I say get a hold of the
And I
respondent.
can't pinpoint it and get the fees waived. And so it'll be real cost. So my question is, and I can ask IPBI, whatever it is, IPIB, if is the attorney fees on the city? Because it's not me that is asking for that information. It's in the city's best interest to find out if it's client attorney privilege, because I requested the book of information. So I would be responsible for the attorney fees as well.
In my mind, yes, because you requested a whole block of emails,
Correct.
They have
So
to
I
review
wanted the
those.
documents.
and we have to go through them and sort them, because he asked you for just the legalities of it all. I don't know why it would be, because it wouldn't be something he would normally do on, just because he wants to. You're requesting it, so you'd be responsible for the costs associated with getting those transferred over.
And the attorney fees, the
Well, that's
city
what
is
that
choosing,
is.
but that doesn't constitute the transfer of the emails themselves. That has to do with the, basically, filtering the information to the requester.
One thing the code's pretty clear, the city doesn't have to spend time to create responses, if you will, that don't exist. So, and that's, I could say it better, but what I'm getting at is if Chris's emails were all set up so that anything confidential was always put over here in a confidential email, and everything that wasn't was always over here, and the request came in just for the non-confidential ones, no attorney involved whatsoever. That's not how his emails are set up. His emails include the ones going out, the ones coming in, the confidential, the non-confidential, et cetera. The city doesn't have a folder of non-confidential emails. So when a request comes in for all those emails, it definitely is my opinion, I think IPIB would support it. I mean, the city could get legally in trouble by giving out emails they shouldn't. Personnel issue, for example, you know. So yeah, they definitely have to be gone through. I understand Mr. Seller's request is, well, that's not really my problem, because, you know, that's on the city to decide what I should and shouldn't get. I just made the request for that time frame. But the law allows the city to pass on your costs to provide what's requested taking into account how you keep your records and what you shouldn't provide. So I understand his question and his position, but I don't find that to be a position IPIP would agree with.
You're more than welcome to ask them, and I'm sure they'll respond to us accordingly, so.
Can we look at how our emails are configured and change that so that when a request like this comes in?
Well, when we write our policy, it's gonna be specific to things.
Well, but is there, like for our email system, can we set it up so that if someone comes and requests, we're not looking at having to pass on a
So what if
$1,200
Chris
bill?
thinks that communication to him and Val is confidential, but it's really not? And he says, well, I think it's confidential, and moves it into the confidential file. And then it's stuck there, but it really wasn't.
That's
Same.
the difficulty.
There's the difficulty.
So we're looking at lawyer involvement.
I personally, I think so, because I don't, somebody, third party has to make that determination if it's confidential or not.
Yeah.
When you make a broad acceptance of gonna take all the emails, no funny, I trust everybody, but, you know, if you want a confidential email, and Chris said, well, something between whoever, him and Greg was confidential, because they talked about a seed that was something that's gonna grow forever, you know. But, you know,
So
I don't know.
will emails be provided with information redacted if there's other information in the email that is not confidential?
Yes, when possible. If it's an email, attorney-client privilege, then that entire email would not be provided. But if there's emails that could be provided with redactions, that is a possibility.
And even though my request specifically says all the emails not pertaining to client-attorney privilege, it is going to be the cost of figuring out which documents are not going to be a client-attorney privilege is mine to bear.
In addition to all of the other 50-some qualified confidential documents under the Iowa Code, many of which I'm sure are not in Chris's emails. Yeah, some of them wouldn't really be applicable, but there's a long list of potential confidential documents, and a number of them might very well be in the emails. A number of them I'm sure aren't, but yeah, someone has to look and make that decision. And I guess when whatever gets submitted or provided in response to this request gets provided, you want to be able to sit in a position and feel like, you know, we were not biased, you know. Chris isn't sitting there picking and choosing which ones get provided. Melissa's not, you know, she works across the hall, you know, everybody here just be opening themselves up to being accused of not giving everything that should be given. And that's where the IT guy comes in. And on the other hand, we just need to be sure not to give something that the law says we should not give to the public.
Because the IT has no skin in the game.
Right.
You really don't have any skin in the game other than protecting the city's interest for confidentiality.
Nope, and you know, if the city wanted to hire somebody else, some other lawyer to do it, that would be okay too. You know, to go through those emails.
And we'd have to get those fees for each.
Yeah, I mean, there's still gonna be fees. I'm just saying, that would be an option too.
That's where we're at, Dakota. So. All right. That thing is gone, and that dog is hunted. So. All right, moving on to reports. Mr. Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. That's two things. One, we're gonna be closed on Thursday and Friday this week for the holiday. Also, got a phone call from Tracy Achenbach. She was requesting our public hearing for the funds for the ratio money be moved back to December 22nd. Just make sure everything's buttoned up with the builder and everything else on that. And then finally, did get from Nate Cass late last week, just very early drafts of the West First Street project, improvement project from K Avenue to R Avenue. So that's looking like it'll most likely go out to bid next year and then construction early 24 because of the way the grant situation is for that, but it is in progress. So that's all I had at this time. That's it.
Melanie, do you have anything else?
We have ribbon cutting for Henry's daughter today.
Yeah,
She's
did.
opening up a new business, well, not opening, new location. But, no, we're just wanting to figure out, we Boomtown settled and move forward with that, and with the green space.
Yes, so Aaron personalized kettlebells for me. They put in a little baby land station, bunch of baby toys to play with.
You had good.
Much better workout for me
Oh,
than the
yes, I'm sorry,
kettlebells.
thank you. Yes, the holiday open house was this weekend, and I thought it went really well. I heard from the other businesses in town that, they were happy with the way it turned out. We kicked off the holiday punch card, that's gonna be rolling it for last year, that, generated about $250,000 that stayed in the town versus going out, so. That's what's going on with that.
Chief?
We're getting ready for, holiday pickup, so just kind of finalizing, what date we're gonna choose, and, again, it's a program where we, have, pick kids, that are less fortunate, try to get them, their necessities, coat, gloves, hats, and you can pick, whatever's left over, with their allotment, a toy for themselves or, a family member. So we'll, announce that, pay attention to our Facebook and look at that.
Fantastic. Tom, anything at the airport I should know about?
Things are going well.
Good deal. Blake?
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report.
No.
All right.
Yeah, Scott Myers as well.
Oh, I won't get to him. None? Melissa, I'm gonna make Scott go last.
I sent out an email today as well as provided you the paper copies for the visioning with Pat Callahan on December 12th at 5:30 p.m. Please turn them in to me or email to Pat by the end of the day. I think December 3rd is what it was. The department heads have received those as well, so please do that. Reminder, General Government Committee is meeting on December 8th, prior to the next council meeting, 6:30 p.m. to discuss beautification. That's all.
Discuss what?
Beautification.
Scotty? He left. Nope, he's up top now.
Yes, sir. We're picking up leaves last week and sanded at the end of the week, so if it gets nice again, people should know that they're okay to put leaves back out. If it stays in the 40s, we'll continue leaf pickup, otherwise we'll move on to trimming, so that's about it.
Can't be many leaves left.
Oh, you look at my yard.
Why you mow it short, they blow into the neighbors.
Yeah, thanks,
They
bud.
blow them on. They blow them on.
So you saw me out there just blowing right toward your house, didn't you? So. All righty. Mayor's Court, there's been a lot going on here. Yeah, FOIA stuff, some of the other ones came in too, so just so y'all know. But everything's going on, got some corrections happening throughout the different departments, working on that, look forward to that. But good and welfare, yep, it is the holiday season, please shop local. Support all the local businesses that you can. And be thankful. It is Thanksgiving week. I'm thankful I get the chance to help people in this community, so.
Get the brine turkeys.
Oh, I do have, can I say one more thing? We're doing another Good Neighbor Award tomorrow night, at 4 o'clock. So if anybody wants to be here for that, just FYI.
You do that here?
Yep, City Hall, 4 o'clock.
So another Good Neighbor Award.
Yep.
4 p.m. Alrighty. Shopping with cop. That's always a good thing. And always remember the people that are less fortunate in the holiday season and see what you can do to take care of them. Other than that, I need a motion for adjournment.
No, you don't.
Oh, nope, I can't adjourn yet. I'm backing off. No more. Withdraw. Sorry.
My 2 feet.
If not, we are about ready to go into closed session here, folks, so I need to vacate the premises.
You wanna stick around?